Well, there you have it. Thank you for those of you that have joined us and welcome to what is this relatively surreal experience of me talking to myself in a room. But I'm grateful for all of you that watched our video. Hopefully it gave you a really good insight into what it is that we're planning to do over the next 5 years. I'd like to start by saying that this is actually the kind of culmination of around 12 months work, which has included internal working groups, working with the board, but most importantly working with a wide range of organisations and partners across the system within Norfolk in order to develop a strategy that is really wanted and needed by all parts of the system, and ultimately is going to benefit the communities and the people that we're seeking to support. So we're really excited about delivering it. We know that there are lots of challenges ahead. We understand that some of the outcomes that we're seeking to achieve will actually impact over generations. But there's a lot that we can do now to make a difference to people at the moment across the communities, up and down and east to west across Norfolk. So we're really excited to do that, and we're really pleased for those of you that have been able to join us now. This is a chance for anybody who's watching to ask me any questions about the strategy or about the implementation of the strategy. And I'll happily do my best to answer them as we go. So I presume that they might start appearing at some point if anybody does want to ask me something, but if not, I'll happily keep on talking until that point. So if anybody has got a question ready, then feel free to ask one now. If not, I'll just keep talking. So as you will have seen within the strategy itself, oh hi Hayley, thank you for the question. Here comes the first one. How much of an impact do we think that the pandemic has had on the recognition of the value of activity for our mental health? Thanks Hayley, that's a really good question. I think it's been huge, hugely significant, and I think for the first time it's a universal understanding that everybody can relate to, because we've all been through the shared experience of the pandemic, and we've all felt the ramifications from a physical health perspective but also a mental health perspective because of the enforced isolation and the changes to our kind of normal behaviours. So, and I think that the restrictions that were placed on us, particularly last year around our movements, really brought to kind of stark contrast the challenges that we experience when we're not able to move freely. And I think for the first time in a long time, or if ever, you know, in my lifetime at least, we saw people taking the decision as families to move together, to go out on bike rides, to walk together, because it's a necessity. If we're going to live well, if we're going to live happily, and if we're going to live with good mental health, then physical activity is absolutely essential. It's obviously not going to solve all the world's problems, and I think it's important to say that at the start of this discussion, that we're not under any illusions that physical activity is going to fix everything, but we really do believe that it's a vital part of helping people to live happy and healthy lives. So yeah, I think the pandemic has shown us the importance of physical activity to our physical, but you know, particularly our mental health, and that's something that we're aiming to address through the lifetime of this strategy. So any more questions coming in? Video was good, by the way, wasn't it? I mean, once I got over the embarrassment of having seen myself on it. A question from Steve Peat from South Norfolk Council. In terms of the impact of COVID, do you believe that this will change people's habits and culture of how and where they choose to exercise, i.e. more public spaces rather than indoor gyms? That's an interesting question, Steve. I think that if we want to change behaviours at population level, then specific interventions and trying to get everybody into gyms or trying to get everybody to join a local sports club is unlikely to make the differences that we need to achieve. That's not to say that they don't play a significant part in making people's lives better. Absolutely they do. But those people that are suffering from the greatest inequalities are much less likely to be engaged in those types of activities. And obviously in a post-COVID world, we recognise the benefits of being connected to our natural environment and to open spaces. So I genuinely think that the most significant opportunity for changing behaviours at scale and making a difference to the most people and those people who would benefit the most from building physical activity into their lives is to increase the population's connectedness to the natural environment, and also to build in physical activity as part of our daily habits, specifically around travel. So active travel is obviously a hugely important topic and touches on many kind of global issues, particularly climate change. But it really has got an important part to play in changing the lives of many people and helping them to benefit from what we know that physical activity can do. But absolutely, I think your point around the impact of COVID and what that will do for people's connectedness to the outdoor environment, I think it's going to have a positive impact, but there's still a need for a wide range of opportunities at community level in indoor and outdoor environments for people to find things that are attractive to them. Okay, let me pick up more questions. Rebecca Lawrence, there's a question around, is there a way for the public to find local activities or areas suitable for walks, etc.? Well, Rebecca, thank you for that question. It just so happens there will be very shortly. We've been working really closely with the environment team from Norfolk County Council over the last 12 months on the development of a new tool, an activity finder, which will be launched before the end of this year, and it will help people find ways to be active that's appropriate for them. So it's not just about directing people to local organised clubs and indoor environments, which obviously it will do. It's also going to help people to access the natural environment, understand where they can walk, what kind of facilities and accessibility there is to different facilities, both indoor and outdoor around the county, and help people to understand and help it make it easier for people to make good decisions around how to build physical activity into their daily lives. So keep your eyes peeled. I won't say too much more about that, but before the end of this year, we'll be doing a huge push on what we're hoping is going to be a massive new asset for those people who would like to make a difference to people's lives. Sam, a question. Sam from Age UK. Hi Sam, how are you doing? How much difference do you think the new strategy would make compared to the previous one? Thank you. It's been excellent working with you all so far, and we look forward to more positive working relationship in the future. Thanks, Sam. Very kind of you to say. I think that the previous strategy, for those of you that don't know, this current one is an evolution of the last strategy. It's not a huge divergence, but I think what we've done is built on some of the strengths of the previous strategy, but understood, I think, in much more detail the complexities of communities' lives, and also some of the limitations of the way that the organisation has operated previously that's potentially prevented us from having the impact that we wanted. So as a consequence of our new strategy, we've undergone a whole organisation restructure to enable us to make the biggest difference. And the most obvious way that people will space team, we're hoping to develop across the whole of the county. So we're looking to build capacity around communities so that we can work with organisations who are directly connected to communities to enable us to invest and provide support to create sustainable opportunities for people to be active. And Age UK Norwich and other partners have been really integral to the work that we've done so far, and we really look forward to continuing that work. I'll just scroll down, see if there's more questions. Bob, question from Bob O'Hanlon. Thanks, Bob. Exciting times ahead. You're talking about your workplace and being involved in the workplace challenge, and will we be building on that successful scheme, and what groups or organisations, agencies do we expect to link up with to offer activity opportunities? I think that there are a number of kind of key places that an organisation like us can engage in order to reach our target audience. And clearly workplaces are absolutely, right in the mix of those organisations who are important. We've got some huge employers and also lots of small employers across Norfolk. So absolutely, it's our intention to focus on workplace health. That's one of our priorities within the strategy. And those of you that take a further look on the Active Norfolk website will see lots of information about the strategy in much more detail. And clearly, workplaces are going to be a vital part of that. We really enjoyed Workplace Challenge. We've really enjoyed delivering the business games previously. And we've handed over the reins of the business games to the sports park at the UEA, who will be looking to take that project on in the future. So that's not going, and I'm sure they'll deliver a really high quality experience for those organisations who'd like to get involved with that, and we'll be supporting them with that. But yeah, we'll be working with a range of organisations over the lifetime of this strategy in order to help people to make good decisions around ways to be active, both from an active travel perspective, but also a connection to communities and broader physical activity opportunities. I'll scroll down. There's quite a few questions coming in now. Question from Mark Heasel. Really interested in how you'd help to broker some of the new relationships with non-traditional partners, building on the example of the work that we did with Nelson's Journey this summer. Secondly, what impact do you think some political decisions will have on the lives of the most vulnerable people, making it harder for them to engage in sport and physical activity? Thanks, Mark. A nice easy one to deal with there. If I take the first part of the question first, and then I'll attempt to address the second part after. I think key to making a difference to those people who are least likely to be active or who would benefit the most from becoming active is a recognition that those people aren't already engaged in many of the traditional places where you'd expect to find people being physically active. Therefore, if we want to reach those people, we need to engage with organisations who work with those people in communities who aren't being active. That takes us to what is now commonly known as non-traditional partners. And one of the strengths of Active Norfolk is the development of a diverse range of relationships across a huge number of organisations, both large and small, across the voluntary and community sector. And our ability to develop and maintain those relationships at a place level, connect them to our system level work with important strategic partners like the health and social care system, the integrated care system, and those organisations within it, as well as local government, is really going to be essential in helping us to provide the resources and solutions to the challenges facing those communities. Our focus is absolutely going to be on sustainability. We don't want to create a situation where we're parachuting services and interventions into communities, and then when the money dries up, the opportunities disappear. What we're trying to do is build on assets in communities to help provide sustainability and opportunities that are going to be there in perpetuity. To answer your second question, it's quite a tricky one to answer, but I guess what I would say in response to that is that we know that inequalities in society are increasing. We know that the life expectancy between the most affluent and least affluent is increasing, and can be as much as 18 years, depending on where you live and how much money you've earned. And we can't control that. We can't control that growth in inequalities, but we can be part of the solution. And I think being part of the solution means working together. No one organisation has the resources or the responsibility to solve all the problems facing society. But we all have skin in the game, and we all want to make a difference, and we all want to make people's lives better. And I only think by coming together, by integrating where possible, and certainly by collaborating based on engaging directly with those communities and understanding what communities need and want, will we actually make a difference. So I think that the challenge is significant, but the only way that we're going to address that challenge is by coming together and working together in order to try and make a difference to those people who would benefit the most. Just scroll down. Emma Horton. Hello, Emma. Are you hoping Active Norfolk becomes more well known by the public, or that your partners and stakeholders channel that information to the public? Again, an interesting question, Emma, and I think as an organisation it really shows the journey that we've been on. I think for those of you that have worked with Active Norfolk for a long time, you'll know that 10 years ago we were a very public-facing organisation, involved in the organisation and delivery of activities and services to communities across the county. I think as the nature and the role of the organisation has evolved in response to the needs of those communities, we've realised that the biggest impact that we can have isn't by providing services and activities directly, but is by working in partnership to enable and resource those organisations and communities themselves to provide sustainable solutions to make a difference to those people, whether that is improving infrastructure and access, whether that is the commissioning of identified targeted services to address a specific need, whether that's a health condition, whether that's something like social isolation, or whether that is ageing well. So I think that the priority for Active Norfolk as an organisation is to have excellent relationships with a huge range of organisations who understand what we're about, what value we bring to a partnership, and want to collaborate with us in order to make a difference to people's lives. I don't think it's important that the public necessarily know who Active Norfolk as an organisation is. However, what is important and what will be important and what we will be relying on from our partners and stakeholders is the promotion of the activity finder, which we're hoping is going to be a hugely important resource for professionals and the public alike in order to provide and access information and guidance and support for ways in which they can build physical activity into their daily lives. So Active Norfolk, not necessarily important for the public to know. The activity finder, absolutely 100%. I'll keep scrolling to see if there are any more questions. Sean Christie from Public Health. Over the course of the next strategy, where do we see Active Norfolk's biggest impact being, and does this correlate or match up with investment in the area, for example, Sport England funding for children and young people, or engaging with other lifestyle behaviours? Thanks, Sean. Another interesting question. One of the ways in which I've tried to describe the work of the organisation through the lifetime of this strategy acknowledges the fact that some of the things that we need to change are going to take time to come to fruition, but other things that we can and will do can make a difference to people's lives here and now. So I think in the longest term, the biggest difference that this organisation can make is how we can influence the population's behaviour through infrastructure. So connection to the physical world and ways in which that can aid people to build physical activity into their lives. And that's everything from high quality access to sport specific facilities. But I think most importantly, as I've kind of already alluded to or spoken about earlier, connection and helping people to just be active by getting from point A to point B without needing to get into a car, or through using various forms of public transport, which might require some walking, some cycling, or use of a wheelchair to move from point A to point B. So I think moving through travel is going to make the biggest difference at population level, but also one of the things that we have uniquely in Norfolk is, and probably our biggest asset is our natural environment, and bringing communities closer to their natural environment and helping them experience the benefits of being connected to the natural environment, I think will be the biggest long-term win. In the short term, I think the biggest impact Active Norfolk can have is to drive collaboration around our partners to direct resources to those communities who are dealing with the greatest inequalities right now, and making sure that the response to those needs and challenges are based on really understanding what communities want and need. And again, as you'll read in the strategy, if you look at the broader document, one of our commitments is to actually help us to do our work based on the people that we're trying to serve. And that means that every element of how this organisation operates needs to be founded on the needs and challenges and opportunities facing those communities. So we need communities to be talking to us, whether that's via our partnership organisations working at a grassroots level, whether that's through the development of citizens panels or representative groups where we can hear directly from communities, whether that's how we bring in a more diverse working group within Active Norfolk as an employer, and that's how as a within our own governance structures, we evolve that to make sure that every kind of facet of the organisation is reflective of the communities that we're seeking to support. So I think that we can make a huge difference here and now, but in the longer term and over generations, I think infrastructure and connection to the natural environment really is the biggest opportunity. A question from Shelley Ames from Norfolk and Waveney Sea Clinical Commissioning Group. Awesome video, thanks Shelley. How do you think we can use this strategy to raise awareness of the importance of physical activity and prevention more generally in a health system experiencing such significant pressures? Another good question, and a very straightforward one to answer. I think that investing and focusing on prevention is always a challenge for organisations and services who don't necessarily have enough capacity or resources to deal with the challenges that they're experiencing here and now. And that's something that we accept. However, if you accept that doesn't mean that you need to accept that there isn't a case for doing differently. Because if we don't do differently, what's the case for not doing differently? If we carry on doing what we're doing and we're saying there isn't enough resource to deal with the challenges that we're facing now, and the inequalities are growing, then we're going to need an increasingly big plaster to stick on the wounds that the communities are experiencing as time progresses. And the only logical solution to that is reducing future demand, and reducing future demand is about primarily primary prevention. So I think it's important for organisations like Active Norfolk and a wide range of our partners to hold to account many of the statutory bodies who have responsibilities for addressing and improving people's lives, whether that's health service, whether that's local government or others. We need to hold their feet to the fire and challenge them to invest in prevention. But we can't just shout from the sidelines. We also need to be providing solutions. So we need to work with those organisations in order to help them understand. And that's everything from evidence-based interventions and commissioning right the way through to being part of a system leadership effort which recognises that we work in an ecosystem of mutual dependence, and it's impossible for one organisation to achieve their ambitions without the support and commitment of those other organisations that they work with. So I think our role is to challenge, but also to help provide solutions, to be positive and assertive in saying that we're here and we want to help, and through working together we can actually make a difference to lots of people, and hopefully that's what we'll do. So, are there more questions? A question from Imogen. Hi Imogen. How are we going to get more local businesses to participate and get involved in our strategy? Thanks for your question, Imogen. I think somebody's replied in there, I don't know who. I think local, as I've said, local organisations are absolutely essential to the success of the delivery and implementation of this strategy, and I would include local businesses in that, whether they be charitable incorporated organisations or profit-making organisations. It really doesn't matter. I think what matters is that we're engaging with those organisations that can possibly help provide some of the solutions that are going to make a difference to the communities that we're seeking to support. So it's about developing relationships, and as I mentioned, we're growing a place-based team working across the county, across all local authority areas, in partnership with district councils, borough councils and city council, to grow capacity to help us engage with those organisations. So over the lifetime of this strategy, and indeed hopefully over the first 12 months, you have the opportunity to engage with us with a named individual who can help connect you to hopefully resources, to opportunities, and to ways in which we can collaborate in order to make a difference to the people across Norfolk. So hopefully it's the start of a much closer working relationship with organisations like yours across the county. Okay, is that it for questions? I'm just scrolling up and down, so bear with me if you do that. There is one more question. Another question from Hayley. As a parent, constant guilt and pressure to do the best for our children. So you like the focus on promoting active families who are active as part of their daily lives. It's not just about football classes or going swimming, but something you can all do together. Yeah, absolutely. Something that we fundamentally believe in, and children and young people are one of the 4 strategic focuses within our strategy, and I don't think we view children and young people as a discrete entity. We view them as part of the family, and we recognise those points of influence that shape the experiences of young people, and parents are absolutely, and the wider family are absolutely part of that sphere of influence. So our work is going to focus on families, and we're going to work with organisations to support families to help them to be active, both as individuals and collectively as families together. Because I think we can all recognise the additional benefits of being active with people who we care about, and the positive impact that can have on our lives beyond the obvious physical and mental health ones. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we'll probably call it a day there. I've been talking now for 34 minutes. Hopefully you found the video interesting and exciting, and I'm hoping that the Q&A has also provided you with a little bit more information and context as to what it is that we're trying to do. If you want to go onto the Active Norfolk website, www.activenorfolk.org/launch, there's more information about the strategy, and also some further drop-in sessions that we're going to be hosting over the next couple of weeks, where I'll be joined by other colleagues from across Active Norfolk who'll be able to provide more context and information about what it is that we're going to be trying to do during the lifetime of this strategy. I really appreciate those of you that have taken the time out to come and listen and watch me talking about what we're all so excited about, and I'm really hopeful that I get to meet many of you, in person and virtually over the lifetime of this strategy, so that we can make the biggest difference possible to communities across Norfolk. So thanks very much for your time. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we look forward to working with you soon.